Video, we're just going to go through how to find the sort of the config files available on a Cisco switch, and then we're just going to go into setting passwords and at different access levels. Okay, so I'm just going to build a small network again, just with 2 switches and 2 PCs. Let's just connect them up. Using that cable. Little bit of advice there. So for when you're connecting devices of the same sort of 2 switches, would go through a crossover cable, where as if the device is different, it's copper straight through by sort of good practice. Okay, so let's get our laptop to the side with a console cable to connect in. Oops. Okay, so we're on there. Got to desktop. So again, in sort of the real world, this would be with your physical devices in front of you. You'd be using a terminal such as PuTTY or TerraTerm, or the other ones that are right there. They're sort of the most common ones. So we've got to go through the default settings and get through to the switch commands. Okay, so let's just go enable to get through to the next level. Now, one of the things we've discussed previously is the show command. So show ? Brings up quite a lot of details of what we can see on this switch at this level. So loads of different sort of commands and configurations available there to view. So my advice is to have a play around with them, because you can't break a simulated environment. It's better to work through them in a simulation tool such as Packet Tracer rather than do it in the real world and start causing mayhem. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the running configuration of this switch. So if we type show running config, and I've spelt it wrong. Okay, so from that you can see sort of the host name, this switch, and the different interfaces that they've not got any IP addresses assigned to them or anything like that, or any configurations on the ports currently. So that's all the different fast Ethernet ports, the different gigabit ports, the virtual VLAN as no IP address, and then we get into sort of these line VTY and line console. So what that means is you've got one console connection available, and you've got 16 virtual terminal connections available. So you can connect. So 16 active virtual terminal connections can be on this switch. So 0 to 15 is 16. I know it's a bit confusing, but 0 is a number. Okay, so just for example's sake, if I wanted to change the name of the switch, so host name SW1, so change the name of the switch, and then go back up and then show running config, and you see the host name's changed now. So the running config sort of changed as we've been configuring and going along. Okay, so if I go through that, the next sort of thing to look at is sort of startup configuration. So if we want to view the startup config, it's simply show startup config, and it says startup config is not present because there's nothing there. There's nothing been configured. We're still at default as it stands. So one sort of important thing to know at this stage is if we don't copy any changes across to the device, so everything as we're doing currently is stored in RAM, whereas if we want it to be there all the time, so when we power the device on or off, we're going to have to save that in non-volatile RAM. So that's sort of something really important to know, because I've seen it so many times where engineers have not copied the configurations across and not saved them to sort of the startup configuration, and then there's been a power cut, etc., and they've lost everything. So that's just one important thing to remember. Okay, so one of the other things I noticed was flash and version. So if you want to see, if we're talking to Cisco representatives, for example, if we've got a problem with the network, or we want to see what version of the operating system we're working on. So if we just start with show flash, it shows you a bin file, which has got the version number of this operating system, which is version 12. So if you wanted to upgrade it, you would simply run different set of commands to upgrade this operating system to the latest version. The more detailed is show version, where you've got the motherboard serial number, power supply serial number, system serial number, MAC address, version ID, pretty much all the model number, again the version, the model number of the switch itself. So loads of different, all the information we need, again, if you're talking to externals of exactly what device that is that we're working on. Okay, so that's the sort of how to see the configuration sort of by default and what we're working on as we go along. So if we just go into sort of some passwords setup. So if I start from the beginning again, start from as if it's from scratch. So I want to enable. Now you can set passwords at different levels of the different levels of configuration as we go through. You can also set different encryption methods, basically for different skill sets, possibly different for more levels of security. You want to have as many passwords on lines as you can. So if we start from the basics, so we're going to sort of set a password for any console connection, so that if anyone breaks into a server room, for example, they can't change anything. So we'll put a password on that. So if we go configure terminal, and it's line console 0, and then password, let's call password go away. Okay, so that's setting the password for the login. So let's come out of this now. So exit again. And so if we get right to the very beginning again, you'll notice we now need a password. So it doesn't actually give any stars or anything. It's just simply a flashing cursor, which I suppose is an added level of security. So if I type my password in, I can get into the switch. So that's the console connection. Now if we want to go a step further and get to the enable part of it, so for this bit, again, configure. Sorry. Go back. Enable. Configure terminal. Spelt it wrong again. I'm getting good at that. Okay, so at this point I want to enable password. Let's call it Cisco. So capital C1, $, small c, and 0, which has a password at the enable point. So if I want to explain this and go right back to the beginning again, so we've got the password at start, and then if I type enable in, I'll have a password again, which is my Cisco 1 with a $sign in as well. So that gets me in. So that's 2 levels of security there. Now, if I want to show the running config here, you'll notice that it's got the passwords there in plain text. So the enabled password of the Cisco is there, which is not ideal. If we sort of go down, you'll also see that the password for the console is there as well, which is go away again in plain text, which is not ideal. So what we want to do next is sort of set an encryption, an encrypted password. So if I go configure terminal, and then this command is enable secret. Let's call it shush secret. Now we should have, we should see a encrypted password. Sorry, I need to go back one. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Okay, so you'll see here enable secret, so the password now is encrypted. It doesn't show it in plain text, which gives that extra sort of extra level of security for anyone that may compromise this switch. So again, if we go back to the beginning, password and then enable, this password now will be, or it should be our encrypted password, which was shush secret. Okay, so we're in. Okay, so the sort of final step is to encrypt all passwords that are currently on the system. So to do this, again, sort of configure terminal, and then the command is service password encryption. Okay, so what that is doing is it's encrypting all current passwords. So if I go to show running config again, you'll notice, so the enabled password that was previously Cisco has now become encrypted, and we should see at the bottom our console connection password is also encrypted. So again, it's just that added level of security. Okay.